Oh, hello there. It's me, Mr. Vandeveer, your teacher of English. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how we are going to start working on formatting our paragraphs. I found with a lot of my students that they have trouble figuring out how to split their writing up into ideas, and I've got a way to help you with that. And we're going to take a look at it by looking at a typical writing prompt to get started with. Should students be allowed to carry cell phones in school? Write a paragraph in response and support your answer. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, like SpongeBob, what is a paragraph? How do I support my answer? I can't do the SpongeBob voice at all. I'm sorry. Well, luckily, we've got Mr. Krabs here. I'm so glad you asked, my boy. That sounded a little like Sean Connery instead of Mr. Krabs, but whatever. I'm doing my best here. MEL Con! MEL Con is the answer, everybody. MEL Con stands for, the M there stands for main idea. The main idea is the first sentence in your paragraph. It is your answer to this prompt. Should students be allowed to carry cell phones in school? The E stands for evidence. Evidence is the reason that you have your main idea. L stands for link. In the link sentence, you explain how your evidence supports your main idea or why the evidence makes you believe your main idea. And then finally, at the end of a paragraph, you wrap it up with a conclusion. So we have MELCON, MELCON. Beautiful. So let's take this writing prompt and see if we can't come up with a short MELCON paragraph. Right, Mr. Krabs? Yes, he's feeling very positive. Let's give it a try. So my response to the prompt, my main idea, is that students should be allowed to carry cell phones in schools. My evidence, my reason why I believe that, 21st century education requires that students learn to use technology responsibly. You may say to yourself, Mr. Vandeveer, how does that evidence support your main idea? And that I will answer with my link. If students are not allowed to have their phones, they will not have an opportunity to use them, to learn to use them responsibly. Then all I have to do is wrap it up with a conclusion. Consequently, students should be able to carry their phones in school so they can learn to use them responsibly. There we have a very short but well-formed paragraph. Now what if, oh, wait, who's that? Oh, it's SpongeBob. Hi, SpongeBob. Oh, he likes the paragraph. Thanks, buddy. So here's another writing prompt. Let's try this one, and perhaps we can go a little bit longer with it. What's the deal with Mr. Vandeveer this morning? Well, instead of having just one piece of evidence and a link to answer this question, we're going to try to get three because, oh, here's that sourpuss Squidward. Nobody cares unless you have evidence. The more evidence you have to support your main idea, the stronger your argument will be, and the more people will care about what you're saying. Otherwise, they just dismiss you. So you can't see me, so I'm just going to give you some evidence. Evidence piece one. Mr. V's handwriting on the board is very sloppy. Evidence piece number two. Mr. V is talking a mile a minute. That means I'm talking very quickly. Final piece of evidence. The classroom reeks of coffee. It's very smelly. Can you smell that smell? It's kind of a smelly smell. Anyway, the main idea then in response to this evidence and to this prompt is that, hey, Mr. V drank too much coffee. Again. Now we can put the main idea together with our evidence and links. Yay! We just need to come up with what our links are to explain how our evidence supports our main idea. So let's start putting it together here. What's the deal with Mr. Vandeveer this morning? Well, my main idea is I think Mr. V drank too much coffee this morning. How did I come to that conclusion? Well, his handwriting on the board is sloppy. That's my piece of evidence. How does that evidence support my main idea? Well, when he drinks too much coffee, Mr. V gets shaky hands. And it's pretty hard to write neatly when your hands are shaking, right? Okay. Another piece of evidence is that he's talking a mile a minute. How does that support my main idea? Well, Mr. V always talks too fast when he drinks too much coffee. Here is my last piece of evidence. The classroom reeks of coffee. This one seems like a slam dunk because Mr. V's coffee maker makes the room smell like coffee when he uses it. And here's my conclusion. Mr. V has overdone it with the coffee again. Now, note, please, my main idea is very similar to my conclusion statement. However, I've restated them because I'm not a boring person. I like to make my writing interesting. So I'm not just going to restate my main idea exactly the same. No, that would be a fool's way to do it. So we're going to pay attention to that as we move forward with MELCons. So, oh, nuts. Plankton got us. We've forgotten something small, but very important. Plankton always cares about the little things. Transitions, that's what we forgot. Transitions introduce evidence and separate paragraphs. So what Plankton is complaining about is that I gave you my main idea and then I just started throwing evidence in your face without introducing it. So I wonder if there's a way that we could just maybe get a list of transitions that would make it easier. Oh, look at that. Here's a whole set of lists of transitions. Over here on the left side, first, those are to introduce your first piece of evidence. Second, that's to introduce your second piece of evidence. And SpongeBob is making the point that we should take these generic examples, these boring blah examples, and customize them to fit our own particular topics. For instance, SpongeBob is writing about the best pet ever. So he's going to take this first example of a transition word, one good example is, and he's going to tweak it ever so slightly into a good first example of how Gary is the best pet ever is, and then you would go on with his example. There's Gary. Hi, Gary. Meow. Oh, and here are our third or final transition words for our third or final piece of evidence, that is, and our in conclusion transition words. These would introduce our conclusion sentence. Now, Squidward is always negative. He says, I hate it. There's no graphic organizer to show me where to put this stuff. Oh, look at that, Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs has a graphic organizer for Squidward, and it's colorful and beautiful, so of course Squidward will like it. Shut up, Squidward. So, Sandy Squirrel has this paragraph for us. You'll notice I've introduced my transitions into them already, into the paragraph already. Sandy wants us to reverse engineer this paragraph that already exists and put it into this graphic organizer so that we can see where paragraphs come from or how we would use this graphic organizer. And she's telling us to fill in the MEL Con organizer as we go. So you should have in front of you a MEL Con organizer that looks like this. It's not very colorful because I can't just go around making color copies like crazy. I am not made of money. But let's go ahead and get started. There we go. There is our main idea, our topic sentence right here. I think Mr. Vanderveer drank too much coffee this morning. So I'm going to come over here and say, I think Mr. Vanderveer drank too much coffee. Really hard to write on when the computer starts lagging. Oh my gosh, come on. Coffee this morning. Whoops. Uh-oh, what did I do? I broke it. This morning. Wow. That's awful. There we go. Okay, now, this little box here is where your transition words go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then conclusion. So our first one is going to be first of all. That's what I decided to use. So first of all goes right here. Oh my gosh, this thing's going so slow. First of oh my gosh. Okay, I don't think I'm going to fill in any more of this because it's going super slow and I don't want to torture you. And I also think you get the idea that you're just going to take these sentences and move them over here to the graphic organizer where they belong, so you get just a little bit of practice seeing how a graphic organizer, a MEL Con graphic organizer, gets turned into a paragraph. And this might seem like it's a very structured and very painful way to write a paragraph, and you are not wrong. However, we are going to learn how to do this and use it well, so that then when we are very, very solid with making paragraphs that make a lot of sense and divide our ideas into discrete chunks, we can then get more creative with our paragraphs and make them into beautiful works of art.